Welcome back. All right, so news of the day video for all you fine people on the internet for your Friday, July the 4th. And so I'm wearing USA jersey because July the 4th and 49ers hat because I know it's football, but still it's got the American flag in it. So I don't have a Team USA hat. So here we are. Anyways, starting off with the Canadian team in the news, Jonathan Toews presented at a press conference today by the Winnipeg Jets and says it was surreal putting on a Jets jersey. So the enthusiasm's there, and that's what you're looking for if you're the Winnipeg Jets right now. So Jonathan Toews looking forward to starting a new chapter in his career with Winnipeg, and all the best to him there. Also, the Winnipeg Jets have re-signed, I believe Mason Shaw was in their organization last season. Well, he signed a one-year deal with Winnipeg, $775,000 at the NHL level, $350,000 at the AHL level, and $400,000 guaranteed. So, at the end of the year, if he's in the AHL the whole season, that's a 50K bump up. That's not too shabby. Christian Fischer's announced his retirement. I have nothing but respect for him for this retirement. He's 28 years of age, and he even said he could have stuck with it. He could have kicked around until he was 34, 35. He could have kept playing, but he has a business opportunity. He says it's in golf, so we'll see what that opportunity is. But he's going to be around his family more, and I have, again, nothing but respect for that. Christian Fischer walks away, played 523 games in the NHL, 62 goals, 75 assists, 137 points, playing for Arizona, Detroit, and Columbus. The majority of his career being spent playing for the Arizona Coyotes. That's where he played the 9 playoff games he got in 2020. Outside of that, no playoff appearances for Christian Fischer. So all the best to him in retirement. And hey, if you can retire at 28 and you can retire while you're still in pretty good health, I think that's great. Hockey players will often break their bodies down. So yeah, they make some good money, but by the time they retire, a lot of physical ailments that follow hockey players around in their retirement. Anthony Beauvillier, sticking around with the Washington Capitals, signs a 2-year extension with them, $2.75 million per season. The Capitals now at just under $5 million in cap space going forward, so we'll see whether or not the Washington Capitals make further moves. I'm thinking they probably do. Jake O'Brien signs his entry-level contract with Seattle. I believe he's the first member of the 2025 draft class to sign his entry-level contract. And as usual, I report on entry-level contracts being signed by first-rounders. In some cases, I may cover entry-level contracts for players coming over from Europe who are in their mid-20s and expected to play. But outside of that, I basically restrict it to first-round draft picks. So all the best to Jake O'Brien. Seattle, I believe they did this at development camp on the ice. So something they did with Shane Wright, they've done here with Jake O'Brien as well. Colorado with the depth signing. Barré-Boulet has signed a contract with them. It is a 2-way contract as well. And look at the difference between this and the Mason Shaw contract. So $775,000 in the NHL, same, but $475,000 in the AHL and a guarantee of $500,000. So that's a pretty hefty amount of money there for Barré-Boulet, who has shown in the past he can come up and play at points during a season. I think he got into a couple of games this past season, so we'll see how many games he gets into for Colorado, a team that does routinely and seemingly every year deal with injury issues. The Utah Mammoth are anxious to get Logan Cooley under an extension. Long-term extension would be preferable. Logan Cooley's an excellent forward, and Utah has a lot of good young forwards at this point in time, so I will agree with them. Getting Cooley signed now will likely cost them a little bit less than it's going to cost them if they wait that amount of time. With the amount of money that's going to be out there next summer, don't be surprised when teams are really pushing to get those contract extensions done now rather than waiting for next year. So go check out all the pending UFAs for next year while you can, because we did that last year and a lot of the top names ended up being signed before July the 1st, and I would expect that again once we get into 2026. So Michael Misa, number 2 draft pick for San Jose. Todd Marchand, who's director of player development for the San Jose Sharks and famous former Edmonton Oiler, he believes that the high hockey IQ that Michael Misa possesses could get him onto the roster this season. Says that that's something that can't be taught, which makes sense. High hockey IQ just means he thinks the game really well on the ice. He's a very smart player. There are players who have very high hockey IQ and not necessarily a lot of skill. Those players can sometimes make the NHL because they're hard workers and they're smart. They don't make those mistakes. There are also players who have a ton of skill and their hockey IQ, well, they have a lot of skill. So the IQ part of it, and it is tough to teach people to be smarter. So you can try. You can get right in their face and yell at them, be smarter, make better choices, and they'll just, nope, they don't. So at any rate, it does sound like Misa's got a spot that's open on the roster if he grabs it. And it does mean, if you're looking at Hockey IQ as a reason to put him on the roster, maybe he doesn't play a prominent role right out of the gate. Maybe he plays in the bottom six, and then they slowly move him up the lineup. So good news for Misa. One thing to keep in mind is with the CHL NCAA set up the way that it is, for CHL players, if they sign an NHL contract, they will not be able to then go to the NCAA. So for CHL players going to the NCAA, they're not able to sign an NHL contract, or else they forego their allowance to go to the NCAA in general. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. They've streamlined it now so that CHL, NCAA, it's basically the same in terms of how long you keep a player's rights, because of the change that CHL players can now go to the NCAA. But at the very least, O'Brien foregoes that by signing with Seattle. But word was that he was ready to join a National Hockey League franchise rather than go NCAA. Anyways, considering the remaining unrestricted free agents, there aren't any real game changers. There are three that I wanted to talk a little bit about. Jack Roslovic had a very good start to last season. He can be effective in a bottom six role. I think he could be a good third liner. And for a team with cap space and needing a third line center/winger, Roslovic might be a good option. Victor Olofsson got off to a decent start with Vegas, then he got hurt. And when he came back, his production was kind of up and down. And so Olofsson's available on the unrestricted free agent market as well. I think he'll get signed. And I'm saying I think because once we get into the summer, there are players who end up just getting tryouts. And then there are players who sign in Europe as well. So we'll see what happens with Olofsson. One that I'm kind of surprised is still out there is Matt Grzelcyk. Grzelcyk had a good season, I thought, with Pittsburgh. But he's still out there, and he's definitely a headliner in terms of the remaining defensemen. We'll see where he ends up. There are definitely teams in the NHL that could benefit from adding Grzelcyk to their lineup. So let me know your thoughts. Where do you think Roslovic, Olofsson, Grzelcyk end up going? That's a good way to start. It really has slowed down. I'm not getting anywhere near the notifications that I was a few days ago, which is perfectly fine. So I'll be transitioning into some playlist stuff as the summer rolls along. Keeping in mind, I won't be doing the playlists on the channel like I've done in other off seasons. Just in general, they don't usually do all that well. So I'm going to be doing my best to get a little more creative with all the content in the off season. So stick around. There will be videos 365 days a year, even if I'm pre-recording them for when we go on vacation next month. But anyways, I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their 4th of July. Be very, very careful with fireworks. Very careful. I see all these things on social media all the time with these just crazy, ridiculous setups, and everything goes off and kids are running and screaming. Be very careful with fireworks. They're explosives, so be careful. All right, that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I also wanted to thank people for a very successful launch of the website, thgyt.ca. Sales have been good, and we're looking forward to getting more products on there as soon as possible. So any suggestions you guys might have for, slogans on t-shirts, that kind of thing, sweatshirts, let me know your thoughts. But until the next time we speak, hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I will talk to you again soon.